Trump's pledge to take over Greenland overshadowed Tuesday's parliamentary elections.
Greenland's politicians have hit out at plans for a high-profile US visit in the wake of President Trump's threats to take over the Danish territory.
We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before.
Greenland, a vast island covered in ice and inhabited by just 58,000 people, has always been a quiet outpost in the far north. However, with global warming accelerating its melting, Greenland is now at the center of a geopolitical storm. President Donald Trump has sparked an international firestorm, claiming that the United States should purchase Greenland for national security reasons, and he has refused to rule out the use of military force to secure it. The boldness of this statement is impossible to ignore what exactly is at stake for the United States, and how will the world respond to such an unprecedented move. Denmark, which governs Greenland, was quick to respond, with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen stating unequivocally, "Greenland is not for sale." The situation has created a dangerous dialogue between the United States and Denmark, one that threatens to tip over into a global crisis. Could this diplomatic standoff escalate into something much more dangerous? It's a question that no one can ignore as tensions rise. Just when you thought things couldn't get more intense, United States Vice President J.D. Vance stoked the flames, even further by suggesting that Denmark was failing to protect its regional interests in Greenland. If that means that we need to take more territorial interest in Greenland, that is exactly what President Trump is going to do, Vance boldly declared. The message is clear. Europe's criticisms won't stop the United States from pursuing its goals. This blatant defiance of European concerns has sent shockwaves through the international community. But the plot thickens following these statements. Something unprecedented happened. United States military planes landed in Greenland, carrying a high-profile delegation that included National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Usha Vance, the wife of Vice President J.D. Vance, and the United States Secretary of Energy. The delegation's presence was no coincidence. Usha Vance's visit had been planned in advance, but the sheer scale of the military deployment and the direct landing of planes on Greenland's icy terrain raised many eyebrows. What was the real purpose of this highly visible show of force? The arrival of these US military planes heightened the already tense political atmosphere in Greenland. As the Danish government swiftly ramped up security measures, many are left wondering, why is Greenland suddenly so important? Its rich mineral reserves and strategic location in the Arctic make it a prime target for major powers, including Russia and China. But is Greenland truly a game-changer in global politics? Or is this all just a high-stakes political chess game between the world's superpowers? We're about to take a closer look at the United States' shopping plans for Greenland, Denmark's reaction, and how China and Russia are maneuvering in the Arctic. But this isn't just about geography, it's about the shifting balance of power, sovereignty and resources that will define the future. As Greenland's glaciers melt, the global race for control intensifies. Will Greenland become a key strategic player, or will its people fight for independence in the face of outside pressures? With so many moving pieces, this situation is more than just about melting glaciers. It's a new chapter in global politics that could change the course of history. What does this mean for Greenland's future? What are the real stakes for the United States, Russia, and China? And how will Denmark continue to protect its territory? In the face of increasing pressure from all sides, the answers to these questions will reveal a dramatic geopolitical shift that could reshape the future of the Arctic and the world. But before we dive deeper, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and give us a like to stay updated on this developing story. You won't want to miss how this plays out. Now let's dive into the heart of this issue. What exactly is the United States' plan for Greenland? And what are the consequences if things go wrong? Keep watching, because things are about to get a lot more complicated. The Greenlandic wing and Denmark are in a state of alarm, following the news of a planned visit to the island by Usha Vance, the Second Lady of the United States, and White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Greenland's Prime Minister Mute B. Egede criticized the visit, calling it a clear display of aggressive American pressure. And after videos emerged showing US planes landing on the island, concerns in both Greenland and Denmark have skyrocketed. A spokesperson for the Danish National Police confirmed that additional security measures were put in place, including the deployment of extra officers and search dogs to Greenland ahead of the visit. While the Danish National Police insisted this was a routine security procedure during visits by dignitaries, the reality is that tensions are palpable. Media sources report that the number of additional police officers could be in the dozens. But why so many? Why the increased presence? Is there more to this visit? than just a cultural tour. The visit, during which Usha Vance planned to explore Greenland's cultural heritage and observe a national sled dog race, has inevitably intensified regional tensions. The trip takes place against the backdrop of President Donald Trump's ongoing desire to gain control of Greenland. According to experts, the heightened security measures are the clearest sign of increasing strain in the region. The political situation in Greenland is also in flux. The island, rich in minerals and strategically located, is undergoing a major political transition after the March 11th elections. Calls for independence from Denmark and growing concerns about the United States' ambitions were key issues in the elections. The surprise victory of the pro-business Democratic Party, which favors a slow path to independence, is a clear sign of a shift in sentiment. Greenland's Prime Minister, Mud Bidet, acknowledged the growing concerns about the United States' intentions, but made it clear that no meetings with U.S. visitors would take place until the new government is formed. As Greenland navigates its political transformation, the latest U.S. visit could very well mark the beginning of a new era in Greenlandic politics. Trump's interest in the island is not new. He first expressed a desire to purchase Greenland back in 2019, claiming it would be a strategic win for the U.S. But will this rhetoric translate into action? Is this the beginning of a serious attempt to seize Greenland, or is it all just a political chess game? There is growing speculation that Trump is aiming to disrupt the Arctic power dynamics that China and Russia have been establishing in the region. By gaining control of Greenland, Trump could shift the balance of geopolitical power in the Arctic. Some experts even suggest that Trump may not rule out military intervention to achieve this goal. Could we be on the brink of something much larger than just a territorial dispute? The strategic value of Greenland for the United States cannot be overstated. First and foremost, Greenland is home to vast natural resources. These resources include precious metals like gold and platinum, base metals such as zinc, iron, and copper, as well as critical rare earth elements like neodymium and praseodymium. These minerals are essential not just for economic growth, but also for military applications, including the development of advanced technologies such as batteries, solar panels, and wind turbines. As the Greenland ice sheet continues to retreat, more mineral deposits are expected to be discovered. Greenland's rare earth resources in particular are of immense importance. If fully developed, Greenland's rare earth deposits could position the island as one of the world's top producers of these essential materials. The question remains who will control these vast reserves, and what will the geopolitical consequences be for global superpowers? In the 2010s, Greenland's leaders encouraged outside interest in its mining potential, even welcoming major Chinese mining companies to the island. The country also signed a lease agreement with the Australian company, Energy Transition Minerals, to develop its mineral resources. Could this external interest in Greenland's minerals complicate the situation? What will China and Russia do in response to the growing American presence in the Arctic? The answers to these questions are becoming increasingly urgent. As global powers race to secure influence in the Arctic, Greenland's future is hanging in the balance. Is this all just about minerals, or is it a larger game of global control? The stakes are higher than ever, and as the ice melts, the geopolitical landscape of the Arctic is being reshaped before our very eyes. Stay tuned, this is just the beginning of a much larger story that could alter the course of history. The acquisition of a major stake in energy transition, minerals by China's Sheni Resources, raised immediate concerns for Denmark, the European Union, and the United States. These powers saw China's growing dominance in the rare earth market as a serious threat, particularly as Europe was trying to reduce its dependence on such resources. But the issue of foreign investment was temporarily shelved in 2021, when Greenland's parliament banned uranium mining, halting further development of its valuable Kavani and Kavana resources for the time being. Simultaneously, oil and gas activity was also banned, discouraging foreign mining companies from making investments. But China, as expected, didn't stay away. 1051. China's interest in Greenland has been ongoing for over a decade. Back in 2015, Greenland's Minister of Finance, Vitus Cox, visited China to discuss possible investments in mining, hydropower, ports, and other critical infrastructure projects. Chinese firms like China Communications Construction Company bid to build airports in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, and in Inuit. Another Chinese company, General Nice Group, offered to buy an abandoned Danish naval base in northeast Greenland. And the Chinese Academy of Sciences sought to establish a permanent research center and satellite ground station. All of these proposals were met with resistance by both Denmark and Greenland, especially under the Trump administration, which pressured Copenhagen to block these investments. Trump's concern that China's presence in Greenland wasn't just about business, it was a strategic move with military implications. Despite the pushback from Denmark, China's efforts to establish a foothold in Greenland were not easily dismissed. The Trump administration viewed China's Arctic ambitions with great skepticism, fearing that Beijing had ulterior motives, both commercial and military. The Biden administration has continued to fight against Chinese involvement in Greenland, even lobbying Australian mining companies not to sell their Greenland assets to Chinese firms. This growing tension has been rooted in the geopolitics of the Arctic, where the United States, China, and Russia are all trying to secure influence. However, the United States' interest in Greenland is much older than China's. Since 1946, the U.S. has had a significant strategic interest in Greenland. Back then, the United States offered Denmark $100 million in gold bullion for the territory, but Denmark firmly rejected the offer. In the early 1950s, the U.S. established Thule Air Force Base in Greenland, which has since become critical for missile early warning, satellite communications, and space surveillance. In 2023, the site was renamed Pufik Spaceport and became a key asset for missile defense and space operations, particularly with regard to threats from China, Russia, and North Korea. Thule Air Force Base is located 750 miles north of the Arctic Circle and plays a vital role in U.S. military and scientific operations in the region. Its ability to track shipping, air, and satellite positions in the Arctic makes it a critical part of the U.S. defense against potential missile threats. This strategic importance is one of the driving forces behind Trump's desire for Greenland. For the United States, controlling Greenland would ensure access to important military and scientific capabilities, including monitoring and defending against threats from countries like China, Russia, and North Korea. Russia, for its part, has long viewed the Arctic as a key region of national interest. The Kremlin is deeply concerned about any foreign intervention, particularly U.S. military presence in the Arctic. As Russia's military presence in the Arctic grows, it has been met with NATO military exercises in northern Scandinavia. Furthermore, China, with Russia's support, has launched multiple research stations backed by icebreakers and entered into agreements for oil, gas, and other commercial projects in the region. Moscow's increasing influence in the Arctic, tied closely with China's rise, has made the region a geopolitical hotbed. U.S. President Trump's statements on Greenland sparked alarm in Moscow, with Russian officials warning that any attempt to acquire Greenland would significantly disrupt the balance of power in the Arctic. Dmitry Peskov, the press secretary for Russian President Vladimir Putin, expressed concern that such rhetoric would create instability. Russia's position is clear: it views the Arctic as a region of its strategic interests, and any actions by the United States that threaten its dominance are deeply concerning. Moscow's foreign ministry also emphasized that the future of Greenland should be determined by Greenlanders themselves, in accordance with Danish law and without outside interference. The Kremlin's concern over Trump's proposal is further amplified by the potential implications for Arctic sovereignty. Russian diplomats, including Ambassador Vladimir Barbin, have warned that the U.S., as attempts to secure its national security at the expense of other nations, could destabilize the Arctic. Russia's primary concern is that U.S. actions could lead to increased military tensions, which could spill over into other Arctic nations, including Norway. Norway's sovereignty over the Svalbard archipelago, an important part of the Arctic, could also come under threat. The question now becomes, what do the people of Greenland want? The issue of Greenland's sovereignty and future independence is at the forefront of political debates on the island. In 2008, Greenland voted for nationhood, and since then, calls for full independence from Denmark have grown louder. With Denmark providing an annual subsidy of around $513 million to Greenland, the island is increasingly looking toward foreign investment to support its economic independence. Given this growing sentiment in Greenland, it seems unlikely that the island would simply accept being annexed by the United States under Trump's proposal. In fact, some experts believe that Trump's actions could push Greenland towards greater independence, rather than strengthen ties with the U.S. Interestingly, China's interest in Greenland could potentially support this move. Beijing's strategy to become an Arctic player might align with Greenland's desire for more autonomy from Denmark and the U.S. A more independent Greenland could be less reliant on NATO and the EU, making it more open to investment from China and Russia. In the long run, China could play a pivotal role in Greenland's future, supporting the island's path toward independence, while also establishing a deeper partnership with Russia in the Arctic. For Russia, the idea of a fully independent Greenland is a strategic concern, as it would lose its influence in the region. What started as a bold proposal by President Trump has now evolved into a geopolitical storm, involving not just the United States and Denmark, but Russia, China, and Greenland itself. The recent visit by U.S. officials, including Vice President Usha Vance, to Greenland, has only added fuel to the fire. As tensions rise, only time will tell how this situation will unfold and whether Greenland will chart its own course toward independence or become yet another pawn in the geopolitical battle for the Arctic. The future of Greenland hangs in the balance, and the stakes could not be higher.